it's Amanda coming at you today to talk about chapters 1 through 9 in Across the Universe. Very excited. This is my second or third attempt because I keep making a video that's over an hour long. So this one's going to have to be a little bit more of me talking a bit faster. So yeah. Here's the book. Here's the cover. I took the cover off because it was sliding off. And it's very annoying when you're trying to read a book and the cover is sliding off. So getting right into chapter 1, we start off with Amy. And I do want to read this really quick to, of course, give some background. Amy is a cryogenically frozen passenger aboard the spaceship Godspeed. She has left her boyfriend, friends, and planet behind to join her parents as a member of Project Arkship. Amy and her parents believe they will wake on a new planet, Century Earth, 300 years in the future, but 50 years before Godspeed's scheduled landing. Cryochamber 42 is mysteriously unplugged and Amy is violently woken from her frozen slumber. Someone tried to murder her. Now Amy is caught inside a tiny world where nothing else makes sense. Godspeed's 2,312 passengers have forfeited all control to Eldest, a tyrannical and frightening leader. An eldest rebellious teenage heir, is both fascinated with Amy and eager to discover whether he has what it takes to lead. Amy desperately wants to trust Elder, but should she put her faith in a boy who has never seen life outside the ship's cold metal walls? All Amy knows is that she and Elder must race to unlock Godspeed's hidden secrets before whoever woke her tries to kill again. So, we have this spaceship that's part of a, almost like a military project is how I see it as. In chapter 1, you start off with Amy and her mother and her father who are getting frozen together. There's some deliberation on who should go first, and Amy's dad decides that Amy's mom should go first and then he should go. That way Amy can see what it's like so that she can make an educated decision for herself on whether or not she wants to be frozen. Now Amy does totter a little bit and she wonders, should she just go and live her life on Earth or her aunt or her uncle and her friends and her boyfriend and just say goodbyes to her parents. But she decides that she needs to stay with her parents and she ends up going ahead and going with them. Chapter 1 was very emotional for me. I admit I did cry. It was very sad watching Amy say goodbye to her parents. She's not going to see them for 300 years. It's a really long time to be frozen. So this is a very emotional first chapter, and I really, really enjoyed it. It really pulls you into the story and makes you really feel deeply for these people, even though you just met them. So I really enjoyed chapter 1. At the end of chapter 1, you do hear the people who are freezing Amy and her parents say that they're actually going to be frozen for 301 years, and as Amy's freezing, she can still hear them talking, and she's like, oh my gosh, I could have had one more year to enjoy my life. But before she can do anything about that, she's gone. She's frozen. She can't wake up. So in chapter 2, we meet Elder on the ship, and we also meet Eldest. Now, Elder is next in line to be the leader of the ship, and Eldest is the current leader who is supposed to be teaching him how to be leader. Now, there is a level on the ship that's the keeper level, and pretty much everything on the ship Elder should have access to. Because Elder's pass to get in the doors has the same access as Eldest, he should be able to actually go anywhere he wants. But he finds this door that is locked, and he's curious as to what's behind there. So he I guess whacks it or something, and he eventually ends up going in there, which is quite frightening because it ends up being a room that is like a glass panel, and he thinks that he's out in space. He can see the stars. The window actually starts to crack, the glass. And he's freaking out and he's panicking and he doesn't know what to do. and then chapter 3 ends. So, I'm sorry, chapter 2 ends. So in chapter 2, I'm really thinking, like, what's going to happen to this guy? We just met him and he's already facing death. So again, it pulls you right into the story. So in chapter 3, we do meet back up with Amy, who's in the cryo. She's frozen. She's actually able to think, and she's almost conscious. And it's very scary thinking that you're frozen, but you have some element of consciousness. It's really terrifying to me. It's actually one of my fears, is to either go in a coma or get put to sleep from surgery or something and be able to feel things or be able to hear what's going on. I think that's a lot of people's fears, and I really like that that it's actually kind of played up, like the author kind of plays with our fears like that. It makes it really emotional and really gripping, and you really feel suspenseful during chapter 3, and then later on in my chapter 1 through 9, while she's experiencing a dream state. It's just terrible. So going into chapter 4, we start to learn about the ship and how it's broken up into the shipper, the keeper, and then the feeder level. Keeper, of course, is elder and eldest, and then the shipper being the medical people and the scientists, and then the feeder are your grunts, your peons. Basically, they farm, and they're just basically the population. They're the middle class, but they're kind of actually the lower class because they just work. They just work and work. You also learn that all of the people on the ship are mono race. Everyone has the same color skin and eyes and hair, and there's no religion. Religion is looked at as a fairy tale or folklore. I found that really interesting, and we start to learn about discord. What are the 3 causes of discord? Difference, lack of strong central leader, and then eldest wants elder to figure out the 3rd one by going to the record hall, which is basically like a giant library, and find out what the 3rd reason for discord is. Now, going into chapter 5, you're back into Amy again, and she's, basically explaining her dream state again. I really love how chapter 5 is so beautifully written. It's the most poetic and very descriptive, and really, again, makes you feel very claustrophobic and trapped inside your mind. Really. In the other video I made, my first attempt at this video, I read it out loud, but it's just going to take too long, so I'm not going to. But I really love chapter 5. It's very powerful for me. I think it's a very important part of this first half of the book. Now, in chapter 6, we learn more about the lives of elder and eldest, and the whole concept of elder and eldest starts to make more sense, because it really starts to explain why why elder is really there and why eldest is really there to keep the ship together. And you also learn more about what they are seeking, which is the Century Earth, and why they're going there and what is supposed to be there. So chapter 6 gives you a lot of good information. It kind of starts answering some of those questions you have at the beginning, like why are these guys on the ship? What are they doing? So then in chapter 7, it's back to Amy, and so you're back in the cryo chamber. Let me look at it really quick, because earlier I was getting it mixed up with chapter 5, so I just want to make sure. Oh yeah, I forgot this. In chapter 6, you're also learning about how Elder goes to the recorder hall in Oron, which is, I see him as kind of like a library dude who can show you stuff. He actually shows Elder pictures of the ship before the plague and after the plague, and points out to him that there's actually a level below the feeder level that he didn't know about. And really brings in more mystery to this, because you're wondering, why is that down there? Why is there storage? Why didn't Elder know about it? Why didn't Eldest tell Elder about it? And I'm thinking, what in the world is down there? Chapter 7 is actually where Amy is having a nightmare, but you don't know that it's a nightmare until the end of the chapter. She's actually seemingly being awoken, but she can't actually wake up. Like, somebody's trying to wake her up, but she can't scream or breathe. And it's really just, again, back to that whole terrifying feeling of being trapped. The Amy chapters are just so really well, just like very descriptive and emotionally grabbing, and they really catch my attention after getting. So then moving forward into chapter 8, we actually learn about Harley and how Elder actually used to live in the hospital in the mental ward because he thought differently from all of the other feeders that he actually lived with at the time. He was considered to be different and crazy, essentially, so they put him in the mental ward and put him on medicine. Harley is one of his best friends that he met in the mental ward, who is actually a really excellent artist. We meet him, and he's painting a koi fish, and it's described with all the beautiful colors. I really like Harley. I really did start to just get attached to Harley. I didn't have an immediate connection with Elder, I'll be honest. So then in chapter 9, Amy actually describes that not all dreams are bad. She does have some good ones while she's in this, conscious, half conscious, half unconscious, dreamlike state. She actually dreams about being on the new planet, the Century Earth, and how it's like paradise, and her grandma's there, and it's just good times, and it's warm, and just beautiful, just a beautiful place to be. But then good dream, she'll start to have nightmares again. Either that she can't wake up, or that Century Earth is a horrible place, and I just feel so. I never want to be I never want to be cryogenically frozen. If that ever comes up, this book has seriously terrified me to the point where I would say, no, I don't want to do it. Thanks. I don't want to be conscious while I can't move my body and I'm not breathing and I'm just stuck inside of myself. It gives me the feeling of like being buried alive. It's just horrendous. So overall, through chapters 1 through 9, we learn a lot pretty quickly about the ship and the setting, and also the people who live on the ship. We start to learn about how this ship is so very important for this mission and for it to get to Century Earth. And I really, like I said, just love reading the Amy chapters so far. I liked learning the information about the ship, and I'm into the science fiction aspect of it. Overall, I do love chapters 1 through 9. I'm loving the book, and I think that's about all I have to say. Oh, I did want to say, usually I don't like books that have different points of view, but I quickly got into the hang of switching back and forth from Amy to Ender. So tomorrow, you'll be seeing a video from Martha. She's going to do chapters 9 through 20, and feel free to comment with what you thought about chapters 1 through 9. More than welcome to leave video responses. Actually, really want to see some video responses. I want to hear from you guys and see you guys talking and what you think just about chapters 1 through 9. Oh, I did forget that Elder, Doc, and Harley actually do go down in the storage and see Amy. He is pretty surprised to find that there are people down there that are frozen, and he's wondering, why are these people down there, and why is Eldest hiding this from him? So again, it's adding to that mystery. So now I think that's about everything. Okay, bye.